Greetings and welcome. How are we all feeling today? You know, when you ever feel very low, very down on yourself, things are not going right, I don't feel good, there's no point, I don't have value in my life. And that's probably because your serotonin and your dopamine levels are either depleted or irregulated. It's so important that we look after these happy, feel-good chemicals in our brains. Because when you become depressed, your brain releases less serotonin to a point where you find yourself deep in the cycle of depression and you cannot create serotonin. And because you cannot create serotonin, you cannot get out of this deep depression. You can't get out of the deep dark abyss. Dopamine and serotonin are very important for the brain, not just to feel good or feel happy, but it actually helps the brain communicate to other parts of the brain. So it's very important for daily functioning. I mean, if you are struggling with depression, you're going to find it hard to engage in serotonin stimulating activities. If you are depressed, you're going to sit in your room in the dark and you're not going to want to do anything. You're not going to want to go out in the sun because you don't have that serotonin to boost more serotonin. And it's important that you understand that with dopamine, that the small little pleasures that we get are good when done in natural ways. When you are thinking about addiction, that's where the brain gets so used to quick, instant dopamine fixes that eventually it stops making dopamine by itself and it relies on those quick fixes to release that dopamine. And that's what causes dopamine depletion, dopamine irregularity, and that can cause addictions and dependencies and a whole host of other deep dependencies and reliance on other things to make you feel good. And when we lose value in our lives, we lose the ability to be happy. When we don't have value, then you can't make more value if you don't have value. If you are struggling with serotonin, you can't make more serotonin. You can only make more serotonin if your body has a good cycle of natural serotonin production. And that's why we really need to look after ourselves and our brains and understand that a quick fix it might make you feel good for the moment, but it's not rewarding in the long term. You are just teaching your brain to engage in instant gratification just so you can feel good now and avoid the pain. And when we have such low levels of serotonin, we feel numb because there is no emotion, there is no happiness, there is no excitement, there is no enthusiasm. So you just feel very down and like things don't have meaning. And understand that a dopamine and a serotonin imbalance can lead to a whole host of psychological challenges, including the development of mental illnesses. Most mental illnesses, if not all mental illnesses, have a dopamine, a serotonin lack or irregularity as well. And it's important to understand the role that they play in helping the brain function. The brain needs to be regulated with dopamine and serotonin to carry certain functions out, just so that the brain can function correctly. If you are depressed, your brain is not functioning correctly because you are not getting enough serotonin to help your brain function. And then your left hemisphere and your right hemisphere of your brain cannot communicate. Dopamine is very important for pleasure and reward. that satisfaction of doing something, when you just had a really nice meal and you feel really full and satisfied, that is dopamine. The body releases dopamine when you eat. The body releases dopamine when you sleep. Anything that feels good, that is good for you in a rewarding way, will release dopamine. So your dopamine is more responsible for, yes, your mood, your overall mood, but it's also responsible for pleasure and reward. So if you are pursuing a goal and you reward yourself, you are enticing that little bit of dopamine to boost inside your brain, and that's an incentive to create more dopamine to carry out the same action, so that you can reinforce that new behavior or that habit. Serotonin is mainly responsible for your mood, how you feel overall during the day. It helps regulate mood as well. And serotonin also has to do with your overall well-being, what state you are in, your mindsets, how you feel on a day-to-day basis. That's your serotonin. And that's why it's so important to engage in serotonin boosting activities, which could include exercising, going out in the sun, being active, doing something healthy, being creative. Anything like that is important because that will naturally stimulate the feel-good hormones. And dopamine and serotonin are spiked by instant gratification. When you don't delay gratification, you say, I want it now because it feels good now, it spikes your serotonin and your dopamine. And this can lead to dopamine dependence, which could mean addiction or just depending on those instant quick fixes. And that can damage the overall chemical messenger, so that your body is not creating and receiving these chemicals correctly anymore. Remember, dopamine and serotonin are not just there to make you feel happy. They are chemical messengers. They help the communication between the left and the right hemisphere of the brain. Remember, always look for healthy ways to boost your serotonin and to boost your dopamine. Don't get stuck into depression, because the longer you find yourself in depression, the more difficult it is to get out, because your body isn't producing serotonin or dopamine anymore. So get out there, live a life, experience life. Be creative, be active, do the things that bring you peace, that bring you joy, and don't get stuck in depression for too long. I know it's hard, and we all struggle with feeling down and not feeling so good, but when these chemical messengers, when dopamine and serotonin are not regulated, it can cause havoc on our mental health and on our psyche. So remember, do the things that are good for you and reward yourself in a healthy way. So remember, you are unique and valuable. Take care of that beautiful person. Stay strong wherever you're from. You are worthy.